Hi, this is Greg from Greg's Game Room, and I'm watching Glen's Retro Show.
Glen, you are a badass! Hi everybody, thank you for joining me on today's edition of Glen's Retro Show. I've wanted to do something different for a while now. Obviously, I purchased a lot of different gaming consoles, but I've been in 3D printing for a number of years now. And it's actually probably taken me a couple of years to tune my printer in. 3D printing is not like it's a regular printer. You just plug it in and you print. You need to basically tune in how and the filament flows, the heat temperature, bed temperature, layer height, and that's taken me quite a number of years to hone that in, I guess. And the printer I currently have, I have an Anycubic i3 Mega, which is, I think, a pretty good printer. And I've gotten to the point now where I think I can start printing more and more things. I have printed things in the past. I've made consoles, controllers, and so forth. But you're also limited by your bed size. My current printer is a 210 by 210 by 205 size. It's about 8 inches, 8 inches by, 8 inches roughly. And so you're kind of limited how big a console you can make. Now I have a friend who's very good at designing things in 3D, Gary, and he's taught me a couple of times in the past with a few things. One of the things he did was my NTEX Adventure Vision. He made a special little plate to go over my joystick and the joystick handle itself. Small things. But I've had something on my mind for a while now with the Arcade 1-Up Pong unit, the Pong table that had come out. I really liked what they did there. It got 4 spinners on it, it's a pub table, and I thought it was a really good design. But for $549, even for me, for Pong and Warlords, the games that are on there, it's a little too much for me to swallow. And I started thinking, I have my own controllers. I have my GRS spinners, USB spinners, and other things of that type. Maybe I can make my own. So I reached out to Gary and we kind of talked for a little bit, and he came up with a design. And we have basically come up with something we're going to show in this episode. Now, one of the cool things that Gary had done here is with the 3D printing, he was able to make it almost like a jigsaw puzzle. So each piece can simply slide and lock into place. Now, you can screw them in. He did make spots for screw holes, but I found the screws really are not necessary. So this table will basically have adjustable heights. I'll be a couple things I'll show you in the video at the end once we go through the actual build process. Now, initially, I was trying to make this with a Raspberry Pi, and I found a couple of things online where people have gotten a Raspberry Pi to accept 4 USB mice, and they said it worked fine with Warlords. I spent quite a number of hours trying to get it to work, and I was not able to get it to work with 4 spinners. Most I got it to work was with 3 spinners. I know it's me. I know it can be done. I'm not an expert in anything. I'm dangerous in a lot of things, but I'm not an expert in anything. So I kind of gave up doing it that way. So I thought, what else could I do here? I don't want to put a huge PC in here. So instead, I had, for a number of years, these little Intel compute sticks. And for the most part, they're pretty weak and worthless. They're basically, a large thumb drive style of a device. I'll get a picture of it up over here. And it's running an Atom CPU at like 1 gigahertz, not very powerful. Only 2 gigs of RAM and runs Windows 10. But Warlords, Pong, Kaboom are not the most intensive games that have to be emulated. So I gave that a try, and sure enough, it worked fine with the 4 spinners. So even though the machine was designed with the Raspberry Pi 3 in mind, including the mounting bracket for it, I actually went with an Intel Compute stick for now. I'm going to still try to figure out how to get it to work with a Pi, because I think overall a Pi in this type of device would work much better. But for now, it's going to be done a little bit differently. It's going to be done with an Intel Compute stick. And again, we'll go through that process as well. Now, I also have future plans for this. This is basically going to be a Pong spinner table, but I do have some things in mind for enhancements that'll make this even better down the road. So enough of me babbling about all this stuff. Let me just kind of talk about and get started in the build. Now, with 3D printing, things take time to print. It's not like you got a piece of wood, you cut it, and 30 seconds later you have a piece of wood. It depends how much filament you're using, and you know, basically how durable you want this to be. And Gary and I wanted this to be pretty durable. So I think we have 35 panels total in this, and it took an average of about 10 to 11 hours for the most part to print each panel. So the entire project, just to print everything, was about 290 hours. And after that, there's some cleanup you have to do, but it wasn't really too bad. And what I say by cleanup is sometimes you have to do supports, and depending on the way your item is, you might need support to keep a ledge or an overhang to go in. You have to clean those things out. But again, this was all done with an iMega 3 printer, and I used about 4 1-kilogram rolls of PLA. So they're about $23 a piece. I'll round it up to $25. So figure $100 in the PLA, which is the material you use to print it. And then my spinners are about $40, $50 each. So figure another $100 for just the spinners. If you went with the Raspberry Pi, it'd be $35. The IntelliStick I've had it for years, so it's free for me. But they probably cost about $100 if you want to go that route. And now the only one thing I wish I could have done a little bit differently in this build was using a 4.3 aspect ratio screen. And of course, after we designed and printed everything, I found one. So maybe I'll redesign it for a 4.3 screen, but for now, it is going to be a widescreen, but it's an IPS screen. So what's really good about it is at the 4 spots of the people playing it, each would have the same great viewing angle, which is kind of ideal. So enough of me babbling about this now. Let's go into putting this thing together and doing some gameplay on it. Let's get started. I'm really excited about this one. Let's go and get started. Okay, so these are pretty much the primary components that you would need to build the GRS Warlords 3D printed table. And this is like version 1. You know, if anyone knows me, I like modifying and changing things. So I see lots of other expansions to this table, whether it be to its height, because you can simply print more of these to, of course, raise the height of your table if you wanted to, or not use any and place it on the table directly. So we'll be going over all those things. But the good thing about it is this right here will probably take you a good 50 hours, 10, 20, 30, 40 hours plus these. So you get 50 hours to print another section. So you could, in theory, if you're 6 feet tall, you can make it as tall as you like, and that's not a problem. But what I do foresee is other types of controls, other types of screens, and other things I don't want to discuss just yet because I want them to be surprises. So again, this is just the version 1, and this overall, just to print what you're seeing right here, was about 290 hours of print time. And that's pretty much going, it's like 12 and a half days of constant printer going. And this was with my Anycubic i3 Mega, which did it, and it did it very well. I'm going to bring a piece close to the camera just so you can see how the print quality was. Now I can still print this even at a higher and better print quality. This was done pretty much at a, I want to say 2 millimeter height. You could do it at 1, but of course that would increase your print time even longer. But I think overall this came very well. And you can see here we have these little holes here for pins to interlock this thing. And to be quite honest, the thing does go together so well, you really don't need the pins. But, if you do want to build it permanently and not take anything apart, which of course I take things apart a lot, but if you don't want to take it apart, the pins will simply hold it in place. And even the pins themselves are printable. So I'm going to grab one here. And Gary came up with these little interlocking pins. I don't know how well this will come up on the camera. But you see, this was 3D printed, and it does compress. So it will go into the spot and lock and hold the components in place, and you can still pop them out. It's not a big deal, but to me, I just don't put them in because it doesn't really need it per se. So even here, I'm going to show you the screen cover. This is what's going to cover the screen. This was printed as well, and Gary came up with a really nice idea. This flap was printed at the same time, not separate. This was actually printed inside here, and it works. And the reason this is here is, although I probably won't have to touch it, the screen does have some controls on it. So you would lift this up, press the controls on the screen, and push it back down. But this was printed at the same time, which I thought was pretty damn amazing. I didn't have to clip anything in. So that was kind of nice too. So 3D printing gives you a lot of options you wouldn't be able to get normally with, a standard, cutting with wood. I gotta be careful walking in here now. So 3D printers does have advantages, but obviously the disadvantage is that it takes many hours to print something you want. But the cool thing about it is you see it just being made out of nothing. You see the filament going in, and you see the creation coming to life. And again, this was all designed by Gary and did a really wonderful job. And actually, we have quite a few other projects with 3D printers coming down the pipeline. So this will probably be a new staple of my channel, is not only just, retro games and shows, which I haven't really done much of shows yet, but I'm planning on it, and other items will be, incorporating 3D prints. Now, again, this was done in iCubic i3 Mega, and the slicer I used, the Purser slicer, which I was using Simplified 3D for a long time, but it's very expensive, and to be quite honest, they haven't updated it in a lot of years, where the Purser slicer has been getting updated, and quite honestly, I think at this stage of the game, it's actually the best slicer on the market. And it pretty much, even though it's for the Purser printers, it can be set up for anyone's, and it's free, which is the best part about the whole thing. It's open source and it's free. And you can see here, I'm going to show you another print here. And this is the base. And you can see how well, this is again a 2 millimeter height. I can go lower, but this thing came out really, really nice. I mean, it's very smooth, and I'm very happy. And you can see everything he did here was done with these like interlocking like puzzle pieces. And we'll get started in a minute, but I just wanted to babble a little bit more and talk about one more thing over here, which is, again, we had designed this initially to work with a Raspberry Pi, but I just couldn't get it working with 4 spinners. I know it does work, people have done it, but I ended up using this. I had this for a number of years, and this is an Intel, what they call Compute Stick. And this is their Generation 1 version. I think it's like 4, maybe 5 years old now. I've had it for a long time. See, it's only got one full-size USB port, so we have to obviously use a hub to get all my controllers in here. Powers through a micro USB. And the good thing about it is, even though there's a power button here, anytime you supply power, it starts. So that's a good thing. I don't have to worry about, an on-off switch. And you can just do Windows shutdown. It'll shut it down, and then supply power. It'll turn back on. It does have an HDMI port on it, and it also does have a micro SD. Now, this only has an Atom CPU in here. I'll put the specs up on the screen, and 2 gigabytes of RAM. Now, you can put Linux on here, and that was an option, but the Wi-Fi drivers supposedly are no longer available. It was available for a time when this was released, but they took it off the net. I can't find it anywhere. So I also have Windows on here, and it does come with Windows 10, which is a bit of a pig on here, but it does include the key. It's all set to go. It's Windows Home Edition. And, MAME, oh, by the way, this is also only 32-bit. So I had to find an old version of MAME for Windows 32 for 32-bit on here. It's not 64. It will not run 64-bit MAME. But again, for Pong, Breakout, Kaboom, Warlords, all these old games, not a problem. And I could probably get Pac-Man and other games working on here, not to give too much away about future things. But let's get started now into the actual build of the device. And again, it's I'm going to try and do this in real time. I'm not going to try and do any editing with this. Just kind of put this together and show you how it goes together. So hopefully, I'll be in the camera shot the whole time. I'm going to hopefully do this. Again, everyone knows that I'm not Cool Toy or Wagner's Tech Talk or anyone like that with really good cameras and editing. I'm just a schmo with a channel. So we have to start, we don't have to start, but I'm going to start at the lowest part, which is here, which is the foot base, the first pedestal part, second pedestal part, then the bottom of the top. You know what I actually noticed when you see this thing's built? I'm a huge fan of the movie The Black Hole, and I know a lot of people thought it was a ripoff of Star Wars, but the Black Hole script was out years and years before Star Wars was even thought about. So Black Hole was definitely not a Star Wars ripoff. I do admit the ending was kind of weak, but the rest of the movie was really good from Disney. But this almost looks like the Nostromo, which was the Palomino, which is close to Planamento, which is me. But the Palomino was the initial ship that they all came in on, and this kind of looks like that. So I'm actually doing, I know it sounds stupid, I might make a dust cover for the screen that makes it look like the Palomino, just because I'm weird that way. But in any case, enough babbling. So we are going to start with the base, and there are 2 separate things you need to print. Again, these printed in about, I think there was really 11 hours, but I'm going to say 10 hours on average. And you can see right here, just going to put these 2 together like this, and that's it. That's it. You're just going to keep sliding them together. I'll put the next piece in here, like so. Make sure I'm in the camera angle. That's it. So I'm going to put it hopefully still in the camera angle right there. I'll slide it, I can slide these over as I go. But then the last piece just goes in like this. And you've now done. What did that take? 10 seconds? And this thing is solid. I mean, I printed this at 20% infill. You could obviously print it less, or you could print it more. But obviously, the more percentage you print, the more PLA you're going to use. This already took pretty much 4 spools total, so that's 4 kilograms of PLA. But this thing right now is solid. I have my brother who he works out. I like this gun you see here. My brother's pretty strong, and this thing is not crushable in any way, shape, or form. This thing is really, really solid. And Gary was even smart enough to put a little spot right here for your your cables to come out for power. Although technically this can run off a battery, but it has that ability. And the reason you see these holes on the bottom here, if you can see the little holes in there, you would put in pins to interlock all the base, but I'm not going to do that. Things actually holds together fairly well. So that's my base. The next thing we need to do here are these side panels for the bottom. And you can see, they're the bottom ones because they got this little spot here to put your cord through. So it doesn't matter where it goes, they're all the same, put the cord in. And he designed these, again, grooves in here that will simply slide in these pegs here. And these are the lower pegs, and the reason they're the lower pegs is they have this little hook here, so it'll interlock to the next layer. They'll interlock, again, I'm only did one additional layer, but you can go layer, 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 make this as tall as you want. Now what I did do is I did print these smaller ones, just because Gary went through a couple of different designs of these, and I printed the new of these, but only the new of that. So this was a new, that was a new. So it didn't fit exactly right, but I was able to mix a little piece here to make them work together. But it's not a big deal. I didn't feel like reprinting like 50 hours worth of these. There's nothing wrong with them. So a small little piece that took like 10 minutes to print took care of that. So all we're going to do is we're going to slide. Look at that, slides right in the groove. I mean, this thing, it's amazing how easily this thing went together. Gary did a real nice job with all the tolerances in here. And you can see, I'll get a little close to the camera, how well that went in. Now again, since I'll put this in now, this is just going to go at the bottom. So being at the bottom, it's not going to be seen, so you won't even see that gap, because this will be covered by the base. So we're going to put that here, and I'm going to slide, actually I'm going to move this out of the way, move our base here, and this would simply go in that, just like that. And then I would slide another one of these into the next slot over here. Oh, I actually forgot my little piece at the bottom. Got to put the piece at the bottom. There we go. Put you down there, like so. Fits right in there. And again, the tolerances are just phenomenal. And you can see now when I put this in here, you can see there's that little lip at the top, the black part of the corner sticks up, and this is the part that will interlock. Whoops. This is the part that will interlock to the next level. And you can see again, maybe a little easier this way, if I can hold it, there is a hole at the bottom for your power cord to go through. And we'll put this back down here, and we'll simply repeat this throughout the side. So I'll take my next corner piece here, and I'm going to put this in. Now what's kind of interesting is I may actually switch this around. I mean, this is how we designed it. So this would be the outside, but I'm really starting to like that and make it look a little bit more designer. Maybe I'll change it. It's just literally turning it around. It's not a big deal. But initially this was the design, so I'm going to stick with that. So we're going to make sure this goes in this way. I'm going to put this one at the bottom and slide this in like so. Maybe down at the bottom, just like that. And then we slide in our next side piece. And we'll just keep repeating that for all the sides here. There we go. And I'll move this back a little bit to get this better in the camera. And we'll do the same thing here. I need my little piece at the bottom. I'm going to slide this down, just like so. And put on our next corner piece. And now it's simply putting in the last corner piece. And we've now already built a bunch of this. Again, you can use the pegs if you wanted to. You would go in the bottom, like so, and you'd put in the little interlocking pegs down here, and I'll keep this as one solid piece. But again, I'm going to be doing lots of work on this still, changes and stuff. So for right now, that's it. And this thing, I can't do handstands, but if I could do a handstand, I could probably do it on this. It's pretty darn solid. So the next part is to build the next layer. Now I'm going to put this aside for a second, out of the way, and we'll build our next one. Now normally, actually I'll bring it back really quick. The way it was supposed to be designed, he has slots in here, and this should have been, if I printed the right one of these, would have still been clicked in like that and locked in place. But unfortunately, I printed the wrong new, and that was on me. So there's still a way to fix it, which is, I'm gonna put this little piece down the side. Sometimes get these little strings, just pull them off. Don't want to affect anything. Get that out of the way, and we'll build the next one. Now we have to make sure that these holes on the top, because this is what's gonna lock into your next layer. So this would be the bottom, and so we'll simply take our side, and we want to make sure this has the opposite lip on it. So if I go back to this for a moment, you'll see that this will now click in and lock into that spot. So Gary did a really, really good job with this. Just make sure you're putting it in the right way. Put in your next one, and it slides in just so damn.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Say what?
Because with 3D printing, you never know your tolerances. You have to sand a lot of times. I don't have to do any of that. This thing just worked. And Gary did a really, really nice job. So we'll put our next ones over here. Again, making sure that my lip is at the bottom. And we put that on our spot. And we slide that next piece in place. Then we simply go to our next part. Take it. I mean, don't you wish everything you assembled was this easy? Look at that. Oh my Lord. And again, these things, you don't want to be hit with one of these things, man. It'll kill you. Did a good job. And now we're already almost done with our base. And again, this would go a lot quicker if I wasn't talking so much and actually just doing it. There we go. And I put our last piece. Like so. Oops. Gotta make sure they all line up. It's a little tight on that side. That is okay. Tight is good.
Yeah, that's what she said.
There we go. So our next box is built. Here is our base, right? All I need to do is that. Now normally, again, this would, if this was done with the right ones, these would have interlocked here and made this one solid piece. But again, I printed these two layers here. You want to be taller? Print another one. Want it taller? Print another one. You could just keep going, make this as tall as you want. In fact, maybe make some nice, posts for your front porch out of these. But that is it. That is solid. So our base is done. So we're gonna move this over to the side. So the next thing we need to do is print the part that goes on top of here, and that's these four guys right here. And again, you can see we have these little mounting spots that would, basically go where these go, like that, and lock in place. And you can also lock these together. But again, I don't really see the need for that. Now there is these here that you would lock to the next layer, and that's probably something you do want to do because again, the way this is designed, you can use the pedestal, you can use it as a lower pedestal, or you can just basically put this on the table directly. So this thing is very, very modular and will play any way you want to play it. But again, putting this one together is just as simple. You simply, take your parts here, and you're going to slide them together like so. And just make sure you line up all the way because it's, it's got to be a circle. And I'm just going to press it down just to make sure it's in the right spot. You're done. How easy is this? Now, you have to now make the other side first because you're going to slide both together. So now we'll take our next two and we're going to slide them together. Look at that. Nope, this one's a little bit on the tight side. There we go. And you can see you could, if you wanted to, take these little interlocking pegs, you would push them in the hole, and that would, it's all it's really doing is keep them from sliding apart and not staying. But again, I'm going to be doing probably changes still, so I'm not going to do that. Just going to make sure this is perfectly round once again. A little press. That's good. Now you have your two halves. Just go slide them together. And that's it. Got to make sure both are lined up perfectly, of course. Look at that. Have you built anything that went together that easy and smooth? Again, you want to make sure it's perfectly round, so I'm just going to push it down here, make sure everything is exactly where it should be. That feels pretty good there. It feels pretty good there. You just built that base, baby. And you're going to take that, place it on here. Now, I'm going to show you something real quick. When I say everything fits perfectly, everything does. But my 3D printer was a little bit off when it printed this one corner. You can see here, this one was my test piece, and these were the actual final pieces. But this test piece, you can see it's not the same smoothness. I'll get a little closer, you can maybe see it this way. I just didn't feel like printing this just yet. I'm planning on reprinting it, but I want to get this video out. So because this is not printed right, it's not perfect in that corner, this is supposed to actually sit into here. And I didn't feel like sanding. I want to get this video out to you guys and show it off. So this has to be reprinted. So I simply printed a couple of cubes here. And these cubes just keep it from wobbling, like that. And then I printed my own special little ones that are a little bit longer. Get over here, little devil. So I just print these little sticks. You can see it right there. And these little sticks are just going to go in here just to keep the thing from sliding back and forth. And again, this is temporary, but they work extremely well. Take a couple more. Make sure it lines up. There you go. Lined up. There you go. Sometimes you just wanna play it now. You don't want to wait. Put it in the hole. Make sure it's in the hole. It is not. There you are. And for the purposes of this video, that thing is not going anywhere. I just don't want it to slide off, and that is not going to slide off. And once the weight's on here, this thing will not move. So again, going very quick and very smooth. I'll move this over this side a little bit. So the next thing we need to actually print is the side pieces. Now, here are the side pieces, and these are one of the pieces that will be modular. What I say by that is I have a lot more plans and ideas for this table beyond it just being a Warlords table. But for initially, these will be going on just like so, in these little spots. And we're going to have our coin and player one start right here. So we're going to put this down for 1 second. I'm going to go grab our little buttons. I got a small, I think these are 12mm buttons. Just small little buttons here. Nothing crazy. And I think I had it with the black one first and then the red. That doesn't really matter. Just whatever your preference is. And just push them in. That's it. Now you got two little buttons. Coin, start. Coin, start. Just like that. And we're going to do that to all four of them. So we'll take a button for each. Just put them in place. And make sure we do it right, because Glenn does do things a little wrong sometimes. So it's going to be the red on this side and the black. Again, it's not like you can't change it later. Push it in place. And you can see that these are going to slide in just the same way, just like this. That's it. And it is now slide in place, and you have half it built already. So we'll take our other ones over here. Go to our next one and do the same thing. Make sure we have our top. And gotta take that little thing off the back. Got to take that one off the back. Get him in the spot. Get him in the spot. Oh, I've got to do it off that one too. Got to take the back screw plates off. Can't leave them on there. There we go. I'm going to push them in place. And we can add it to our ring. And then we have our last one here. Like so. Oop, put on the right side, that is. That's it. You see, we completed our ring. And again, you could use the little devices here to lock in the ring, but I'm not going to do that right now. But you can see there's these little like divots in here, like right here and right here. And these divots will go into these spots, so it'll make sure the ring does not move on you when you put it in place. Again, look how quick and easy that goes together. Now the next thing you want to build is your top cover. And here is the top cover. We'll bring our 4 pieces out. And this is actually, talk about this in a second, this is where the Raspberry Pi would have connected to it. But we have these 4 pieces here. And it's going to be built just like the base. Again, extremely solid construction. And we have an inlet here for our screen, which we'll talk about in a second, and our controls. But same thing, there's a little indent right down here. So these will lock in place here so they do not move. They'll stay in the right spot. And that's it. So we're going to build it the same way. We simply slide our pieces together, like so. Oh, gotta get the right pieces though, because there is a screen here. This one does kind of matter. So I gotta see here now. We gotta make sure we get the right parts. Nope. Ah, there we go. So these two, you can see here, this is part of the screen. So these two would go here. This one does matter where they go. See, this has to line up here, like so. Again, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You'll know when it's not put together right. So that's half it done already. Pull off this little piece that's still sticking on there, like so. Which means these 2 pieces are going to go together just as well. And I'm going to make sure I get them in the right way, which is, it's going to be this way actually. That's going to go down like that and that way. That means this piece has to go that way. So we'll slide these 2 together. Nice and easy, cheesy. Then we slide these 2 together like so. Just like before, just make sure it's lined up. Gotta make sure it's lined up perfectly before you start. Where's it gonna go? It's gonna go like that. Start this way. I probably should have did it the other way first because of the way the screen goes in. I always say things are easy and I'm not going to edit the video, so I think I should take this apart and slide it this way versus the way I did it this way. So I'm going to unslide these here, like so, and like so, and slide these 2 together first. Because the way the screen sits in there, I think it's going to be easier. Put that down, and then we'll put this one together over here. There we go. There we go. Now, there we go. That makes that a lot easier. So put this down again, line these up, and just slide them together. And there you go. Little problem there, but easy to do. Now you can see the spot right here. This is where you would have mounted a Raspberry Pi, and Gary made it so this will simply slide and lock in place there. But for right now, I'm not using Raspberry Pi, so I'll just leave that in place. And basically, next thing we do is put in all our controls. So I'm going to put this down. And I'm using my GRS USB only spinner. So you can see they're the size of a standard buttonhole. So we're going to put them in and lock them in place. Very easy to do, just screw it in. First spinner in place. And then we got to, of course, put in our buttons as well. And I like the red button closer and then the black. So I'm going to put that in here. Very easy to do. Once again, we lock these in place. About it falling on the floor first. We just repeat that for each of the other spinners. Piece of cake. always fun when everything goes smooth. And these are my GRS 1 million press buttons. Of course, they're not available for sale yet, but we are planning on bringing them to market. We have one more to go. And again, so far, there's no screws needed. Everything you needed was printed as far as the design of the case, even the pins. But it's really nice that you don't have to use screws. It's kind of nice. Again, there is your top, all done, both sides there. Normally your Raspberry Pi would be in that spot, but it is not. And again, we have these little spots here, 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 and here, which line up to these grooves. So when you put this thing in, locks in place. We'll pull this back now a little more to the center, like so. You can see the height right now, if I'm on my knees, it's the perfect height. If you were to put this on a table, you might want to take it off the double pegs. But if you're sitting at a standard chair, which I'll do a video recording of that later on the video, it's actually at a pretty good height. Some people may want it up one more. Just print up one more of these layers if you like it a little bit higher. But that's it. Now, I do wish that we were able to do a 4.3 aspect ratio screen. I couldn't find one. Of course, I found one after everything was already printed. So I ended up going with this screen right here. Now, this is one good thing about going with Windows is this is a touch screen, IPS screen. So no matter what angle you're sitting at, you're going to get a great viewing angle of the game. But again, all these games here would be a 4.3 aspect ratio, so it's a little disappointing. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Now you can see over here, these are the controls. So and there's little standoffs here. So there's spots here for your standoffs. You literally just put this in its spot right like that. Press down a little bit, and that's where it's supposed to be. And again, we have this cover here, so if you need to access the controls, you can do that. And I'll put this right here, push it in place. And as far as the assembly goes for the actual machine, so you can get to your buttons over here, if you need to get to them, put it down. But so aside from electronics, which we'll do in the next part of the video, you just built yourself a unit. And now again, I don't have the screws in here right now. Normally this thing would be able to pick it right up like this and go, but you can see. If you know anything about the movie The Black Hole, it kind of looks like the Palomino. I just put a little top on here, and it would look just like it. But right now, so I don't lock anything in place, it's a little bit loose. But as far as playing it, it's in one spot down for the purpose of the video. This thing is all set to go. But I would recommend, if you're ever going to move it around, you do want to use these little pins, which would, lock everything in place. But that's, again, outside the concept of this video. So the next part of the video will be actually getting the electronics up and running. Okay, so now that the unit was built, and very easily and quickly, the next phase is to connect the, all the controls up. And there's lots of ways of doing that. Normally, if I did have the Raspberry Pi in here, I would connect everything here to the GPIO pins, just because you wouldn't need anything else. But since I'm going with this Intel compute stick, I'm going to go a different path. Again, there's only one USB port, so the this will go maybe something like there. And because I need more USB ports, I found this on Amazon. It's a 8-port hub, a little overkill. Hopefully it'll be able to supply enough power. But I got this for, I want to say $7. It was not expensive. So we'll have that here. That'll connect to our USB over there. And we can put that there for now. Again, for right now, this is a version 1. So unlike with the Raspberry Pi that was going to be mounted, this is kind of going to be just kind of a double-sided tape, just held in place, just to do its thing. Again, off of Amazon, need some speakers. I got this here for $10. It's not the loudest thing in the world. But it does have USB for power and an auxiliary audio jack, which I can plug into the monitor. It does support Bluetooth, but I always find that Bluetooth has lag in it, so I'm not going to go that route. But again, very cheap. I mean, it's metal, it's nice, but the speaker's kind of crappy. But again, we're playing Pong and Warlords. As long as we can hear it, we'll probably be fine. We'll put that maybe over there, something like that. And then the last thing we are going to need, because I'm not going with the GPIO pins, I just have a $4 USB encoder here. Basically, I have just enough. I think it's a total of 16 devices. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 8 on the top for a total of 16. And we will just make it using the buttons and then the joystick here for this particular encoder. So all in all, I think it'll work out okay. So I'm going to take everything else out of here for right now. And the first thing I'm just going to start doing is, connecting my wires. Now the good thing about using, these USB encoders, they include these little quick connects here. So, just got to basically start putting them in spots and connecting them. They're all tangled. Dadgummit. And it doesn't matter. I mean, there's 2 wires here. It's just closing a switch. So as long as they have a good connection on here, you'll be fine. Just going to put them in place, and we'll get all these connected. Okay, the next phase is we need to wire up all these controls. So I'm just going to turn this over upside down, like so. And I include a wiring harness. Now the wiring harness is going to make this connect as a USB mouse. So the buttons would actually be mouse clicks. And you could just connect it with just this. So for these guys here, it's just really just connecting this to the pins here, like so. And you know what, we're going to go with my connectors here. Just see, because sometimes MAME doesn't treat mouse clicks as a true button. But we're going to give it a try. So when you do buy my USB spinner, you also get a little wiring harness here to connect the buttons as mouse clicks. And just connect it to the secondary port here, like so. My old eyes, I got to get those things the right way, it goes that way. A little too old. There we go. And then you have your primary click, your right click and your left click. For the most part, I think the left click would be my primary, right would be my secondary. So I'm going to make, where is my left? This is my right, this is my left. Just gonna make sure these are untangled. And we're just gonna incorporate them. Again, it doesn't matter which pin it goes to, it doesn't matter. Take you out. Move this out of the way just for a moment. So I want to take our USB encoder and connect these little guys here. And now that I used my buttons, this will use up much less over here. And let's try to make this the right way. Let's go maybe midway here. Of course I'm backwards again. Of course I'm backwards. Of course I'm doing it backwards. There's one button here. There's one red button I'm gonna maybe have to replace. Not sure yet. It looks like I forgot to put one on, so I gotta fix that too. Forgot to put this one on. Shame on me. And this guy right here, I'm not sure if I might have to replace this button, because the one shaft is not staying on proper.
Yeah, that's what she said.
We shall try. See if that stays this time. We'll give it a shot. So our encoder's done. I'm going to take our little hub and put this over here as well. I'm just going to give it a little bit of an extension on this hub. Maybe like that. Should be more than enough. So I can put that over here like so. I'm actually going to run this underneath because it's heavier. Like so. Yeah, I'm going to get some zip ties for this as well, so we can zip tie that up a little bit better. Try to make this a little bit nicer. Plug all of you. I'm going to go underneath. So I'll plug you into 5. If I get the right way, of course. And here, plug in number 5. Because the USB spinners are going to go into the 1 through 4. We have our speaker, which I'm going to put close to here. I'm going to let it do that because it's going on this side, it's going to be going over on this side. I'm going to plug you into 6. Of course, I probably got it backwards again. Of course I do. There we go. So again, if I redesign this for these different devices, I'll probably make little mounting spots for it right now. This is still version 1, just my prototype. And this is going to actually go up to my screen, not to here. But this hub will go into the Intel stick. And if I could ever get the USB-A to go on the right side, there we go. You num-num. So we'll put that there. The one thing we're going to have to do as well is we need a cable to go to the monitor. I'm just using a small HDMI cable and a gender changer here, double female, to plug into that. So that part's all done. Like so, and this will also go. So these two are going to go up to the monitor when I connect that. So I think at this point, the only thing I need to do at this point now is to put the actual top on. And here again is the top. So I'm going to have to connect my 4 spinners. It doesn't really matter which order they go in, as long as they are connected. So I'm going to start here with number 4, just because it's the hardest one to get to, I think. So there's 4. And then there's 3, and then there's 2, and then there's 1. Okay, we'll have to tilt this and put you down here because they're a little higher than I thought they would be. So that's okay. These are all things that could be adjusted later on. So now that's done, the monitor is going to be coming in here, so I need to pull these 2 up here. And I need to get power, but I could do that after the fact. And just line these up. And that's it. So I have to get some power, run some power cords, so I'm going to do that now.
6.5 hours later.
Okay, I'm going to try and live extremely dangerously, and I'm going to actually try and power everything off of the one USB port to my Intel stick. It's probably not going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway. And just see what happens. So I'm going to run this cord down to the bottom of the unit. I probably should have put this through first. Sometimes Glennyware doesn't always think things through, but hopefully I'll save you guys some time. I'm going to run this down to the bottom and out the side here. Again, in theory, could this run off a battery? Potentially. So I'm just going to connect this to my Intel stick, which is powering the USB hub, which will power everything. I highly doubt this is going to be able to do it, but I'm going to try it. It doesn't hurt to try. Worst thing that happens is it just doesn't want to boot. There we go. All right, so that's done. I have plenty of cord out the back, and we're going to plug our monitor in. So the next thing is the monitor itself. So there's a couple things we can connect back here. Here's the monitor, and we have our HDMI in, touchscreen in, which actually I forgot I'm going to try that too. Maybe I'll try that in the next video. So there's a touchscreen. I didn't set that up at all. I forgot about it. So with Windows 10, I can have just, a touchscreen on here working. Here's the power inlet and the audio. So the audio is going to go right here. So it's taking the audio into HDMI and converting it out here. And then we have my HDMI here. And then it's just really the power cord. And like I said, I'm going to try and cheat. I am going to try and cheat. And I'm going to see if I can really rip everything off the USB hub. The spinners don't use much juice. The encoder board doesn't use much juice. The speaker might. But we are going to see what happens, right? What's the worst that can happen? We'll put this down to the side for a second. And I'm going to run this over through the woods. I know it's a bit of a wire mess, guys. I get it. But again, this is the first time I'm doing this. It was going to be a Raspberry Pi, and it kind of changed at the last minute. So of course now I got to try and reach my hub, and I can just barely do it. And we'll see if we can steal some power. Okay, so technically everything's connected, and we make sure our buttons are on the side with this here. So I'm going to turn this like so. Put it in place with all my fingerprints on the screen. Gotta hate fingerprints. And actually, though, there is a piece down here that I did print, so it actually looks professional. I didn't put it in here, but that's okay. Technically, everything is wired. Is it gonna work? Well, I guess we're gonna find out. Okay, so here is the machine. It's all set to go. I think the height right now is actually perfect for what I want to use it for. I have two printed squares to make it this tall, and I can rest my arms right on my legs and get to my spinner and buttons right here. Now you could make it larger if you like. Just got to print more of these plates right here. Just keep stacking up as high as you want to go. It's definitely strong enough to take it. We have 4 spinners here. Each player has a start button and a coin button all the way around for each player. 2 buttons each, and again, it's an IPS screen. Now the speaker I got from Amazon is horrible, so I'm using external speakers. Hopefully you can hear it, but the speakers I put in initially is it's pretty bad. So I'm gonna have to figure that one out. I have a couple cameras set up here so you kind of see the different angles I have over here. I got a camera over here, I got a camera over here, and I got one over my shoulder for the gameplay. Hopefully, although all is pretty visible. Again, I do wish I did have a larger screen in there, but I think for right now, for version 1, I think it's turned out pretty good. Again, it's not running a Raspberry Pi right now, and this was initially designed for that. It's an Intel CompuStick, and so I can use a touch screen. I haven't set everything up on this thing yet. I've just kind of really built it now and finished printing it. So there's still some tweaks, but I want to do a video on it. So right now I'm using an external mouse. This is my touch screen's not working. And I'm going to run MAME over here. Now, it is 32-bit MAME. It is not the newest version of MAME. It's an older version because the CompuStick, at least the one I have, only runs 32-bit Windows 10. So we have a bunch of games in here. So one of the games I like to play personally is Arkanoid. It's it's basically I don't want to say a rip-off of Breakout, but it's an enhancement done by another company. So I'm going to run Revenge of Doe, which was the sequel to Arkanoid's game. So right now I can just put a coin in. I'm going to press the button here for a coin. And I'll hit the start button. Now you can see right now the screen is set up in a horizontal way. I can rotate it and put it this way. Again, I just set this up right now, trying it out. Haven't adjusted anything on here. In the paddle, you might want to change sensitivity settings in MAME, because I think right now it's even too sensitive. But these are settings you can adjust in MAME itself. in addition to Arkanoid, there's other games you could play in case you really play this one really bad. Another game that's a fun game, actually I believe it's called Beam Rider. And Beam Rider is actually a Space Invaders game that uses a paddle, which I never knew existed. But we're going to try it out. I don't think there's any sound in this particular game, but you can see me turning my paddle, moves my guy, and I can shoot. So it's obviously, a ROM hack. The company probably took it from Midway, Tato, to make this. But it's just kind of cool that you can use a spinner to do it. But I also need some sound samples. Man, they drop bombs like crazy. No wonder you have a spinner on here. Because you're not going to live very long. Once again, Glen's doing great. Oh, I have one ship left. Oh, I got a chance. Got a chance. Not much of a chance. You have Circus, which was basically Circus Atari, copy of this game. I think this was by Exidy originally. I'm going to put a coin in and start the game. You don't get music like that these days. Yeah, I think he died too. So I think a nice addition to this might be some cup holders. Playing a game, having a little drink. Again, this is really just a proof of concept. I've never printed anything this big before on my printer, let alone in these different modules. So you got to run Pong. I mean, playing something like this, you got to play Pong. Now, for some reason, the Pong ROM comes up pretty dark on here. I don't know if you can even see it. But I'm going to put 2 coins in, and I have my 1 spinner here, and my 1 spin here for 2 players. Now, this is something, again, you have to adjust the settings in MAME, because you really should be able to travel further than I'm doing right here. Let's see if I can hit the ball. Oh, I hit it. But I missed. Oh, I hit it back. See, this is why you need friends. You need someone else to play these games with you. So Pong does play, which is kind of nice. Now, interesting, you can play Star Trek on here. This is by Sega. And I can use the thrust and fire, hyperspace, and photon torpedoes over here by using this spinner. But it is a fun game. I like Star Trek. Put a coin in.
Welcome aboard, Captain. Entering sector 1.2.
So I can launch the photon torpedoes. It's a really fun. If you haven't played Sega Star Trek, I think it was 1982. It's a really good game. Of course, you got to play some Super Breakout. Put in a coin. And again, right now it's in a horizontal format. I can adjust it to be in a vertical format. Just use one of the other paddles when you play it. There's a game called Tac Scan, which is actually a pretty fun shooter game. So put a coin in for that. The other game that you'd want to play in here is Tempest. So we're going to launch Tempest. Put a coin in. And start the game. Again, this can be adjusted to fit on the vertical screen. Nailed!
Yeah, that's what she said.
And of course, the whole point of this table was for Warlords. Warlords uses 4 spinners for 4 of your friends. Okay, well, you can still play with 1 person, but I will show you really quickly that all 4 spinners do work. So to play this, you insert your quarters. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, and hit my 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see my 1 spinner here works, my 1 spinner up here works, my spinner here works, and here. So they all do work. Of course, it's always better with friends for this type of game. But if I was to play right now, I can use the red button here to hold on to the fireball, find my spot, and launch it off. And each one of these, again, you can adjust sensitivity to all your controllers on here. But I'm going to escape out here and play as a 1 player because I don't have 3 friends to well, play the game. So I'm going to put my coin in, get my start. Oh, they're killing me. Oh, I got him, but he got me. So Warlords is a really fun game, but you really do need other friends to play. But in any case, you still can play it. But that was the whole reason of me building this. I wanted to build, you know, I saw the arcade 1-up-1, and I thought that was a really neat idea. I liked the idea of having that type of machine. But I thought for myself, $550 was a little bit high for me. Now this probably cost me still about $300. The filament alone was 4 rolls, about $25 a piece. That was $100. The spinners, 4 of them, are about $100. The screen and the IntelliStick and everything else was probably, probably close to that as well. So $300 to build this, and again, it has other modes of operation. I'm playing it on this, but you can actually just take this top piece off and place it on the table and play it like that. So there's some other options you can do for this type of machine. Okay, I have to say, I'm very proud how this thing turned out. I mean, this is definitely the largest thing I've ever done, especially with 3D printing type of thing. And I can't thank Gary enough, my friend, for coming up with the design. All the parts in here really went together extremely well. With 3D printing, a lot of times you got a lot of sanding you have to do. This thing was almost like a jigsaw puzzle. It worked very, very well. And this is just the initial prototype of this design. It's obviously built off of the Arcade 1-Up's Pong machine, which has actually just been released. And I really liked that machine, but I did think at $550 it was a little bit rich for my blood. This still came in about $300, but I used an awful lot of PLA on here, and you can probably sit on this. It's really, really solid. And again, you can make this taller or shorter. You can add more of these sections here to make it up tall if you wanted to do that. I'm actually fine with the height it was at before. I might still print another one because some people may want it a little bit higher, and I can understand that. It'll just be another 40 hours to print one of these whole things, the 4 sides and the 4 other pieces on here. But I can't thank Gary enough for this design. And let me know in the chat down below if you would like to see more on my channel focused on 3D printing, things along these lines. I'm really, really enjoying this, and I'm just really impressed on how well it went together. A lot of times with 3D printing, there's a lot of sanding involved and repairs and fixes you need to do to it. This really didn't need any. It just pretty much came off the plate and just peeled off some supports, and it went and just worked. There were some adjustments that have to be done. I can still set up an escape button and the touch screen to pick the games, and adjust the screen for the proper angle for certain games. It should be vertical versus horizontal, and sensitivity to the buttons. But overall, I mean, this is it. I mean, it's a really neat idea, and it's definitely an idea borrowed from Arcade 1. I'm not gonna lie, it definitely came from their machine. But I have a lot of other ideas still for this. Other kinds of controls, screens, and so forth, which there'll be more videos of this in the future. But if you did like this video, I would appreciate if you like, share, and do subscribe. I'd like people to see what I kind of built here. I'm not going to be putting the files up on Thingiverse at this time. Again, Arcade 1-Up literally just came out with theirs, and I don't want this interfering with their sales at all. This was just something I wanted to build and show you guys what I did here. But in the future, who knows? Maybe I will release it or something along these lines. But for right now, this is really just an exclusive for me. I don't want to interfere, not that it's going to really interfere with Arcade 1-Up's business plans, but I just think it would be in poor taste for me to do this while they're selling theirs out right now. So I want to thank you all for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. And once again, no matter what you do or how you do it, please just remember to game on.
at the Tiny Arcade fan page. Remember, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.